not against one another. Peter playing Green Red Monsters, and Evan Nelson we saw lose on camera against Naya Hexproof.
So both of these players on the Monsters strategy. Evan Nelson is splashing black. I know he has access to Dreadbore. I believe he actually is not. Let me double check that. Yeah, he is not playing Reaper of the Wilds. So the only black card in Evan Nelson's main deck is Dreadbore. Although having said that, this is game 3, so he could have access to some other black cards out of the board.
So both players with Sylvan Caryatids. Evan untaps, takes his third turn, adds a third land, and plays Polychronos.
Polychronos, that's a good turn 3 play.
The big difference between Green Red Monsters and Jund Monsters is one of these decks is a lot better at killing someone else's Polychronos.
Oh, yeah. So
Stomping Ground untapped for Peter.
So Peter looks to have a play to match.
It is Stormbreath Dragon and attacks.
Can't tangle with Xenagos, doesn't need to. Goes right over the top.
Evan will untap. Draws another land.
So in a Monster's Mirror, we're really just...
And there's Xenagos, God of Rebels.
That's a lot of damage very quickly.
That is a lot of damage.
Yeah. Turn 4 Stormbreath felt like a lot of damage quickly. But Polychronos into Xenagod. That's 10 immediately and threatening more every turn.
Yeah, Peter is now in the abyss. He has to block every turn.
Yes. Conveniently, he has a Sylvan Caryatid, which is kind of getting to the point where it's done its job. He has Mutavault as well. But Evan sitting with 4 cards, we have to suspect he has at least one more threat. And Peter back against the wall very quickly here.
He's also very close to actually turning on the devotion requirement for Xenagos. He's one more double mana permanent away.
Yep, and actually that is all of his permanents. Any single permanent that Evan could play would turn it on.
So Peter has a Polychronos of his own, but not fueled by Xenagos, a lot lower in power.
Doesn't have haste.
And Peter appears to just be sitting back entirely on defense now.
And Evan does have that Dreadbore, so Polychronos not an issue. Well, Peter's Polychronos not an issue. Evan's Polychronos still very much an issue. He's going to consider... Okay. So he's bottlenecked on non-green mana, so he has to choose between Stormbreath and using the Dreadbore.
So it looks as though he's pumped Stormbreath Dragon, he sends in Stormbreath Dragon, Polychronos, and now Xenagos, who is alive and ready to rumble.
So Peter has to throw his Stormbreath under the bus, which is really unfortunate. And then he can trade Polychronos's. That will temporarily turn off Xenagos, but as you said, any threat off the top or from hand is going to turn that Xenagos right back on. Yeah. And actually, Evan, he can pump Stormbreath this turn. He can actually continue to pump it. So that, like, Peter's not only in the abyss, he's in the flying abyss.
Yeah. And Peter had, he had turn, he had a Sylvan Caryatid into a turn 4 Stormbreath Dragon. Not a shabby start, but
not at all.
Just not even close to being able to keep up to what Evans produced on the table here.
Peter can trade off Polychronos's and then find an answer to Stormbreath Dragon. Does he have access to any answers? I assume he has some number of Mizium Mortars.
Yeah, he has a couple Mizium Mortars in his deck.
Okay.
He has a couple plummets in his sideboard, maybe he brought in, but not flush with answers, but he has greater than 0.
He's definitely live. He is going to consider... Well, he's thinking about it. I guess he could also activate Mutavault. So there are chump block opportunities that let him keep Polychronos. I think he's basically considering, is there some way that having a Polychronos in play lets me steal the initiative somehow?
Well, the thing is that this Polychronos, oddly enough, doesn't really change Evan's clock because he's in... I kill you if I hit you.
Yeah.
So Peter might just say to himself, well, I can afford to take this 5 because it doesn't actually change anything.
Sure.
Me being on 8 and me being on 3 is the same life total.
That is kind of true and kind of not. Once he goes to 3, he's actually dead to the presumably pumped Stormbreath Dragon or the unpumped Polychronos.
Sure.
Peter draws his card slowly. It does not look like a removal spell. I think Peter sees the writing on the wall here.
Yeah. He's got to have something really, really good this turn.
Is it Domri, maybe?
It is.
Okay, and that is an answer to Storm Breath. And that's actually a very valid reason for keeping that Polakranos around. That nearly doubled his outs to the Storm Breath.
So now, Peter uses Domri to fight Stormbreath Dragon with Polakranos. And that's one piece of the puzzle that Peter has solved here, but there's numerous other problems.
Yeah, he's still in the Abyss. Evan has that Dreadbore that Peter does not know about, so that can clear the blocker out of the way.
Also appears that he's just drawn a Core Clan Rampager as well, so.
And Rampager, I believe, will do it. He can actually cast the Rampager. That will turn on his Xenagod. And a 4/4, that's right, an 8/8 hasty trampling threat, in addition to what Evan already has on board.
This is also not a bad place to start the turn, as ultimate price from Evan will take care of the Polakranos.
That works too. Does the math. Yep, that'll work.
And there's the Rampager to trample over the Mutavault.
Evan had all sorts of ways to close that one out.
And that's game. Evan Nelson with Judd monsters over. Peter Bowie playing green-red monsters. Evan now 8-1, and we had him on camera 2 rounds ago get his first loss, so we know his tiebreakers are quite excellent, potentially in a position to draw in next round.